After Ron DeSantis's re-election win in November of 2022 for his gubernatorial campaign, there was a lot of excitement and energy and promise and hope, frankly, amongst people who are sick of Trump and sick of his drag on the ticket and are sick of him losing, honestly, race after race. There was a huge hope that DeSantis could be the guy to bring the GOP into the future and to unshackle the GOP from Trump's electoral liability that he presents. And this presented itself in Trump's own hand-picked candidates that he decided were the best people to run, based on them taking up his grievances with the 2020 election and claiming that it was fraudulent and erroneous with no evidence. In fact, 40 lawsuits were filed, and all of them got dismissed, except for one. They lost lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, and that didn't stop Trump from picking candidates such as Kari Lake, Herschel Walker, Dr. Oz, Blake Masters, who, of course, all went on to be defeated in what Republicans would consider to be a very winnable elections based on sentiment that existed against President Joe Biden and all-time inflation, the highest inflation we've seen since the 1980s. These things were shaping up to really hammer the Democrats, but Trump's handpicked candidates that didn't focus on issues that voters care about continually lost. And DeSantis's win in Florida for governor was seen as strength and was seen as the parties maybe wanting to go a different direction than Trump, and maybe we should find somebody else to take up our cause that is going to be a better candidate against Joe Biden and is going to have a better chance of beating him in the general election. But as Trump indictments have been piling up in recent weeks and months, we have the Alvin Bragg indictment, and as well as Jack Smith's indictment in the Mar-a-Lago docs case. We've seen a lot of consolidation of support around President Trump, and we've also seen a lot of media attention being paid to the former president, Donald Trump. And during this time, DeSantis has not really changed up his campaigning strategy whatsoever and has continued to fight the culture wars.
Woke represents a war on truth, so we pledge to wage a war on woke. We will fight the woke in education. We will fight the woke in the corporations, and we will fight the woke in the halls of Congress. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. We are going to leave woke ideology in the dustbin of history where it belongs.
He's continued to go out of his way to pick a fight with anybody at all who disagrees with him on LGBTQ issues. Look no further than his ongoing battle that he's had with Disney, in which he sued Disney for their special tax exempt district that they have in Florida. And then what we saw is a countersuit from Disney against Ron DeSantis. And he hasn't really gotten anywhere with his whole feud with Disney. And the culture wars that he's continuing to wage, it's been shown that poll after poll after poll says that these culture wars, issues on LGBTQ and issues on abortion, are losing ticket issues for Republicans, and that voters generally don't really give a flying hoot about these issues that Ron DeSantis is bringing front and center to his campaign. And based on all this, now it's looking like even in his home state of Florida, he might not be able to win. And this is just absolutely remarkable, given how well he performed in 2022 in his re-election campaign and how badly Trump's candidates performed. We're a long ways away from November of 2022. Now, DeSantis, my understanding is that DeSantis is hoping for Trump to get in so much legal trouble that he either decides to drop out of the race or voters back away from him in a meaningful, huge way. And there he is, standing as the golden boy to soak up all of this Trump support. And I think that's why he's decided to not take Trump head on or in any sort of more aggressive manner, because he's holding out hope that Trump's legal troubles are going to catch up to him. Okay. But here's the thing with that. Over the course of the past two indictments, we've seen support for Trump consolidate, and if it dipped at all, it's a tiny dip. We're not seeing 10, 15, 20 percentage point swings from Trump to DeSantis. We're seeing maybe 1 or 2 points, or maybe 5 points at the best. And when DeSantis is trailing Trump by 25, 30 points in his home state, I don't think this strategy is working out for him. And another thing is that even if Trump was to be convicted of a crime and sentenced to prison, there's nothing stopping Trump from running his campaign from prison. And if we've seen how the GOP voters have reacted in the past to the law coming after Trump, if he was to be convicted, it would only bolster his argument, and it'd only bolster his argument that the government is out to get him and the government is out to stop his campaign because we're so afraid of him winning again and becoming president again. And it's only going to serve to make him more of a martyr if he was to be convicted. So there's nothing stopping Trump from being convicted, which I think is a very low likelihood of this happening prior to the 2024 general election. But even if it did, that's not necessarily going to mean that all these voters are going to suddenly go on over to DeSantis, because they haven't shown that they're ready, willing, and able to do that in the past. And nothing's telling me that they would suddenly decide to do that. So taking on Trump head to head and in a more meaningful way for DeSantis, in my opinion, it would at least signal to other supporters of other candidates, such as a Tim Scott or a Nikki Haley or a Chris Christie or Vivek Ramaswamy. It would at least signal to them, wow, this guy is taking initiative and this guy has the strength to fight fire with fire, as the rest of the GOP field has largely been totally unwilling or unable to criticize Trump. And it would make him stand out because nobody else in the GOP is doing it. And I get that you don't want to piss off the MAGA voters, because if we piss them off too much, then they're not going to come switch over if anything does happen to Trump's campaign. But what the polling is showing us is that the hands-off strategy that DeSantis has taken so far is not working for him either. So when you have all of this money being donated to your campaign, and $25 million was raised by DeSantis in the latest fundraising information we have, And you have very large part of the GOP, at least 25%, according to most polls, that doesn't really want anything to do with Trump anymore. And they're looking for something else, anything else, other than Trump to lead the party. Why not at least try to throw some different strategies at the wall and see what sticks? Because as DeSantis' polls go down, 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 and Trump's are going up, 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 and DeSantis is sticking to the same strategy, that is the literal definition of insanity, ladies and gentlemen, is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting to have a different result. So you can make an argument that what Ron DeSantis is doing is textbook definition insane. And instead of taking Trump head on and calling him out and calling out his electoral drag that he brings to the GOP and has continued to bring since 2018 elections, why not call it out and see if your numbers go up? It could be something to try out. Now, is it too late for Ron DeSantis? Probably. With the Iowa caucuses now scheduled to be happening on January 15th, less than 6 months away, you have to think, what could happen between now and 6 months from now to Trump that is going to cause a mass exodus of support from Trump? What's going to happen? The indictments so far haven't done it. Like I was saying earlier, if he's convicted, he can still continue to run. And there's no other candidate that is really even threatening at all. DeSantis is the only candidate that is any sort of threat at all to Trump. Okay? So, what does DeSantis have to lose at this point from switching up his strategy and trying out anything different? Anything different. Let's back off of the culture war stuff. Let's back off of trying to make America Florida. Let's back off of attacking Trump from the right on issues that are not going to be winning DeSantis the primary. All right? Let's make an argument of, hey, this Trump guy, he won in 2016, and that was great and all. But in 2018, he lost us the House. In 2020, we lost the White House as well as the Senate in the special runoff elections in Georgia. And in 2022, he lost, his candidates lost. And look what I did in Florida. I won. He just isn't making this argument in a succinct, sustained enough way to chip away at the public perception and the GOP perception of Trump being the front runner and as being the leader of the party. Now, there's been some half-hearted attempts that DeSantis has made to make such an argument, but they've fallen flat largely. And he needs to be yelling this sort of line of attack from the top of every rooftop that he can find. And he should be going around making the media rounds like crazy, saying, This guy is an electoral liability for our ticket and for our party. I poll better in head-to-head matchups than he does versus Joe Biden. Do we want to win or do we want to lose? But for whatever reason, folks, DeSantis just does not seem ready, willing, or able to switch up anything in his campaign. And if you look at a state like New Hampshire, tiny New Hampshire with 2 million people, he's already struggling, and it's looking like he might not even win New Hampshire. If you're an up-and-coming candidate who's looking to make a splash against an incumbent who's not actually an incumbent in this case, but Trump's enjoying the benefits of being an incumbent while not being an incumbent, kind of a weird situation there. But the polling that's coming out of New Hampshire is not looking good. If DeSantis fails to win in Iowa and then goes on to fail to win in New Hampshire, and this thing could be over, folks, early. And we might not even see DeSantis making it to some of the larger states later on in the primary. And that could very well mean that DeSantis' campaign is in fact headed for the dustbin of history. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like the content, and comment down below. Let me know what you think about Ron DeSantis' election chances and whether or not you think he has any sort of chance to take down Donald Trump.